You've probably noticed that most of the videos about gardening on YouTube have happy gardeners with perfect gardens and everything's going right, and they're telling you how they did it. Welcome back, casual gardeners. Today's video is about something that's gone horribly wrong and what I'm doing about it. So sit back and enjoy this sweet, sweet train wreck as I try to rehabilitate my very, very sad indoor-outdoor lemon tree. Now, the number one problem that I'm dealing with right now is aphids. The thing about an indoor-outdoor tree is that it spends time outdoors where it can pick up pests, and then it spends even more time over the winter indoors where there's nothing that eats them. So recently my floor has just been absolutely covered by dropped leaves and honeydew. The worst thing about this is that it's my fault. You see, last season, while this tree was outside, it was almost stripped of all of its leaves by a grasshopper plague that made gardening much less than wonderful. And I felt so bad that it had so few leaves left that I did not prune it like I should have when I brought it inside. That meant that I had to support all of these branches and all of this foliage with just the roots that can fit in this pot.
But an itty bitty living space.
And that left it vulnerable, and the aphids moved in and took advantage right away. So step one in fixing this problem is that I'm going to give it a pruning, and it's going to be a severe pruning. You are going to see me remove at least half of all of the branches and leaves on this tree.
It's deep.
So yeah, I hope you don't have a weak stomach, because here we go. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at this thing and try to find branches that are dead or dying or crossed. So right away, you can see right here that these don't have a lot going on them.
Mostly dead things.
It's going to cut it back to here.
First cut's always the deepest.
And gone. All right. I have some crossing branches here. So I'm just going to take this one off. This is going back towards the center, so off it comes. You can see that I'm losing a lot of flowers as I do this, and that's just something I'm going to have to live with. This branch is going the wrong way. This branch should have come off a while ago. Man, this is hard because I love my tree. Okay, this little bit here is just, no. You get what you pay for when it comes to pruners. I bought some cheap pruners. And I'm going to bring this back to about here. There are two kinds of cuts in pruning. One of them is the heading cut. So that's if I came in right here and cut right here. Since there's still branch behind it, I'm going to stop the forward growth of the branch, but I'm going to encourage branching. I'm going to get a lot more side shoots like this one that I was about to cut in front of. And so heading cuts encourage growth. Now, if I want something to stop, then I do a cut like this and cut the whole branch off. As you prune, it's always a good idea to keep an eye on what direction things are going to go as a result of your cutting, because you can guide and shape the growth of your tree. But pruning is complex and it varies from tree to tree, so I'm not really getting into it. So you can see I've really opened this up, and now it looks, well, a little bit scary because it's lost a lot. But this is all going to fill in with new growth. I've already fertilized. I'm going to spray down the leaves with my hose, and what that is going to do is it's going to knock a lot of the aphids and possibly whiteflies off of this plant. I'm just hitting it horizontally and as much as possible up from underneath, because that's where most of the aphids are hiding out is on the undersides of the leaves. Now, a tree isn't going to get an aphid infestation as bad as this one without other factors at play. Every indoor-outdoor tree in higher or extreme lower latitudes is going to face the same problem, and that is that as the winter progresses into spring, the angle of the sun in the sky shifts up closer to 90 degrees, and as it goes up, less and less light is making it into your home, but the temperatures are not yet right to bring the trees out. And that means that there are a couple of very sad months for your indoor-outdoor tree. In the fall, right after you've taken it inside, and in the spring, right before you're able to take it outside. During those months, they're getting reduced sunlight, if they're getting any sunlight at all, and they kind of have to go half dormant. And it's that half dormancy that makes them particularly vulnerable to whiteflies and aphids and any other pest that comes along. As we bring our indoor-outdoor trees back out in the spring, it's really important to make sure that we take the process gently. Either do a hardening off period like you would with any other garden vegetable or fruit, or at the very least, take it out and put it in the shade first and gradually move it to sunnier locations. You're going to want to take it easy because the leaves that the tree has grown while it was inside the house are not accustomed to the full sun. Okay, we're back in the garden, away from the carnage on the patio, and I'm just going to go through and show you a couple of the beds. So we're going to start with the bed that is mostly kohlrabi so far and just has a few onions in it. You can see that both the kohlrabi and the onions have come up, which is really awesome. This bed is also going to have peppers in it as the season progresses, but for now, it's still too cold to put the peppers in. The kohlrabi is going to need some thinning later on, but for now, I'm just going to let everything grow a little bit more until I start to see some true leaves. Going to the bed that is going to be our squash and cucumber bed, but for now, it is turnips and carrots. Plus, of course, onions. I went a little crazy with onions. So as you can see, the onions are up, the turnips are up, and the carrots are up. Check out my full sun pollinator bed. Has some delightful bulb action happening, and I want to show that to you. You can see I've got hyacinths and daffodils and tulips ready to put on a show. Tall phlox. It's going to be a really pretty plant when it grows up. This is my part shade pollinator bed. So I've got columbines, sweet williams, alliums. You can see that pea trellis behind me. You know what's coming. Let's look at the pea bed. As you can see, the peas have progressed quite a bit since the last video, and they are rocking out around the trellis. I've planted lots of beets in this bed, and they are just beginning to emerge. That is a weed. And then here is my row of spinach. The last bed for us to see is, of course, my leafy green bed. It's really hard to see the redder lettuce coming up, but here it is. And next to it, this can only be black-seeded Simpson lettuce. Nothing else is that color of green. Well, anyway, that is the latest from my garden. This whole holding the camera is new for me, so I hope it's not weirding you out as much as it's weirding me out. Thank you for joining me here in my garden today. I hope you have a wonderful time in your own.